What's going on, Blues? Welcome back to Life as an Evertonian. Blues, I want to come on here and I want to give my thoughts on the transfer that didn't happen for Dwight McNeil last night on transfer deadline day. We heard that there was an offer initially that was rejected from Everton, from an offer from Crystal Palace for Dwight McNeil. Then, like with the last hour, an offer was accepted, 20 million with a loan, with an obligation to buy for that 20 million. And then obviously the news broke down that, or the news was breaking that the deal didn't go through. Obviously, Crystal Palace had changed their mind, were dragging their feet with the paperwork. For whatever reason, they've decided to pull the plug on Dwight McNeil. And for us as Evertonians, I know for me, I can speak for myself, and a lot of Evertonians agree that £20 million would have been massive for us. Do you know what I mean? Money that we could spend going into the summer. And, we bought the lad for around 20 mil. And he hasn't been playing well, And listen, I've seen the messages on my socials, in regards to Dwight. Everton fans have been a bit too harsh on him, etc. I can only talk about him as a player, not as a person, because I don't know him personally. I don't know anything about his life. I know obviously his girlfriend hasn't been too well, and she's had to have an operation in some sort of capacity. I don't know how serious that is. And obviously she's come out. We've seen what she's stated, what she's written on her socials about the situation. And, literally she's sticking up for her boyfriend. Do you know what I mean? She really is. She's supporting her boyfriend. And I even said on my content yesterday, this is technically a local lad. Rochdale born, Manchester United Academy, Burnley, Everton. He's predominantly been in the Northwest probably all his life. So where he's not been getting in the Everton team, where he's not been playing well, she's obviously come out and said some things in regards to like mental health, and nobody knows what goes on, and, etc., etc. Go and see it for yourself if you need to go and see the post. I'm not going to read it word for word. And, she's saying that because obviously she's defending him in terms of his ability, how he's not been playing to the levels that he should be playing at. And obviously she's had a real good dig at Crystal Palace for, saying that they've messed him around, they're messing with their lives, etc. So for Dwight to move to London initially, and probably his girlfriend, it was going to be a big move. I think she even written where it was 4.5 years. So it could have been a 4.5 year deal, half a year this year, then 4 years. And obviously 26 years of age. So it would have been like, I don't know, it would have been their future in London. And obviously it's broken down. And she's took to social media. And obviously she's not happy about the situation. Now, listen, again, in terms of Dwight McNeil as a footballer, when we brought him in, I think we brought him in from Burnley, and that season we signed him. It was Frank Lampard who signed him. I think he only had one goal to his name, in the colours of claret, for Burnley. And I've got a mate who's a Burnley fan, and he said obviously he works very hard, etc. And so I knew what type of play we were getting in terms of his work rate, etc. But he obviously over the last 3 seasons, 14 games this season, 1 assist, no goals. 21 games last season, 4 goals, 6 assists. It's a decent return that in terms of the amount of games that he's played. That is 11 contributions out of 21 games. And then obviously the season before, 2023-24, 35 games, 3 goals and 6 assists again. So listen, there's been games where that lad has got an absolute aircraft in him. He doesn't score boring goals. And he has a delivery on him. And I think Moyes has been playing him because he's got that. He's got that in his locker. But he's not been pulling up trees this season. He's been below par. And obviously his girlfriend has come out with this statement, and she's she's probably backing up like why in a lot of ways. Um, but listen, adversity, it happens in life, and I get it. When you're going through stuff, sometimes you're not performing to your best. Listen, I'm not a footballer. I've played football. I've played at a decent level. I gave up football at a young age through stuff that I was going through. My dad passed away when I was 16 years of age, but I was a good player. I was a good runner. I was a good boxer, and I give up those things. But I was only a kid. Do you know what I mean? And you know, I've been a performer in the past. I've been a fire dancer and stuff, and I've been going through things in my life where wasn't able to perform at my full capacity because of stuff that I was going through. So I get it. I've got mates who were professional footballers. Um, I'll give you an example. I had a mate who was in Blackburn Rovers Academy, Clark Walsh. He'd been a Rovers player from the age of like 6, 7 years of age. And he'd been at that academy all the way through an academy in his academy life. And then when he got to like 18, he got released. And, that would have affected him massively. It really would. But he's got to then go into like the real world and find something for himself in the real world. I know he's had knee problems and he's battled with cancer. He's gone through stuff. And then I've got another mate, Matt Derbyshire, who literally bypassed the academy. So Clark's been through the academy. Matt Derbyshire got spotted playing for Great Harwood, was in the academy briefly. Then he was in the reserves at the time, under 21s, I think it were. Might have been under 23s, what it were classed as then. And then straight into first team, makes his debut against Fulham, scores against Everton, the FA Cup. Couldn't believe me, mate. Scored against Everton, the FA Cup at Goodison. Was on loan at multiple clubs, and he made it. And he ended up going over to Greece, playing for Panathinaikos, and there you go. Um, so Clark would have been like, he'd have been gutted in his life. We go through stuff in life as professional footballers, as they do. We're in the real world as we do. We're constantly fighting battles. I've got a lot of worry at the minute about my mum, a lot of worry, and you know, it's all touch and go with my mum. I'm being honest. She's due a major operation. My mum's got a thyroid gland that has grown into her chest. It's strangling her windpipe. Her breathing's really limited. She's had 3 cancellations now of the operation over in Blackpool because they need a cardiac team on standby because where the gland has grown to. So there's a lot of stress. Do you know what I mean? And the surgeon, we've just been told the surgeon has left that practice, left that hospital, and he's moved somewhere else. And now she's getting transferred to Liverpool and Manchester. There is stuff that goes on, and I still have to operate as a father, somebody who goes to work, does this, supports my wife through her work. Shit happens. Shit does happen. And I just think, it's a little bit soft with what, she's come out with. But I get it. She's protecting her boyfriend. And, he's still an Everton player. And I have been getting on at Dwight. I see it. I feel we all have. It's frustrating, but I think Moyes and his management have surely they could see his levels have dropped off massively, but they keep playing him. Are they forced to play him? I don't think they are. They tried Harrison Armstrong on the right hand side on Saturday. He'd been predominantly playing on the right hand side as Dwight. It's not been working. He had a good game against Aston Villa. He did. He put a shift in. He worked hard that game. He had a good 15 minutes against Forest at home when he came on, but the job was done for Everton. He just had to hurry the ball down and track his men in a number 10 role and press the ball. And he did all them things. Just on the ball this season, he's been very slow, very cumbersome. His touch has been poor. He's not been playing over in that natural left position where he used to play, where he got them decent numbers. I remember his goal on his debut against who did we play? Did we play? Weren't Roma, was it? Was it Dynamo Kiev? And he scored on his debut in the friendly at Goodison Park, driving through the middle. Obviously, chopped it onto that left peg, and he popped in. He scored from it, and he has got a real good left foot. Never uses his right foot, like ever. So it's been frustrating for Dwight, and I do feel sorry for him in a lot of ways. But they're on mega money, And obviously she's talking about, you know, they've got stuff going on, but we don't look at them because in that way because of the money that they earn. Well, I do. I do because I've got mates who are footballers and, I get the pressure. It's not easy being a footballer, but you find your level, don't you? I mean, sometimes players' bodies, they peak at different ages or they're done at different ages. I'm not saying Dwight McNeil's done. I'm not in a footballing term, but he needs to find where his level's at. He probably needs a change of football club. That's probably what he was hoping for. The big move to London would have been a really big move for him and his girlfriend. Like I said, I don't think he's lived out of the Northwest. So that's what they were pinning the hopes on, and the deal didn't go through. Um, and again, I just get where she's obviously sticking up for her boyfriend, and he's still an Everton player. And of course, we'll get behind him. If he puts on that shirt and he's starting for Everton again, you get behind him, and we want to see him improve get back to at least the levels that he were at. Now, have I always rated Dwight even at that level or the levels that he were playing at then? Again, still frustrating me. I'm entitled to my opinion. Look at the likes of Dele Alli, the levels that he played at 1920. Real Madrid were knocking on the door. And, Dele Alli was like an elite footballer. He really were. And then, listen, he got to Dwight McNeil's age now, and he was done. He was literally done. I'm not saying Dwight is done. I'm not. Listen, he's still an Everton player. And, I've come on here and I've joked and I've had my Jack Daniels yesterday and stuff and blah, blah, blah. But, I really do hope the lad's okay. I do. I hope his girlfriend's okay. I hope she's recovered and she's out the woods, whatever condition or whatever was going on. And again, we will as Evertonians, we'll support him, but we have to look at him as a player. We're there to support Everton. We want to see our team win. We have our own mental health problems and I've covered this on my channel, where we go to Everton, we go and watch Everton to make ourselves feel better. What does being an Evertonian mean to me? I've covered this on my channel. The stuff that I've gone through, being brought up as an Evertonian, people say about my accent and stuff, they don't know the journey. They don't know that my dad's dad was from Birkenhead and my dad was born in Darwin and I was born in Blackburn, Lancashire born. But my dad brought me up to be an Evertonian because of how he was brought up, and we go through stuff. Losing my dad at that age, it was really difficult. I couldn't watch Everton for about a year. Found it too hard. When the World Cup was on in 1998, I half watched it. I couldn't watch it because I was brought up around football. Dad told me relationships, jobs, friendships, they all come and go. But remember, son, you'll always have football. You'll always have Everton. And that stuck with me. So he's ingrained into me what Everton means to me, and it's almost been like my dad's always been able to stay with me by following and supporting Everton. And I love producing this content on my channel. It's an hobby, and it's an hobby that I've started getting paid to do. And I appreciate the support and all the comments, and I'm not earning a load of money. It's just something a bit extra. But my plan is to stay consistent with this and keep producing this content, and hopefully my levels of, broadcasting this content will get better. I've got lots of ideas for it to get better. And I hope Dwight McNeil gets better and he can find the level that he were playing at a couple of seasons ago. And I hope he can. So, Blues, I'm going to leave this one there. The deal didn't happen. Frustrating for Dwight. He's still an Everton player. I'm sure in the future he'll get a move. His girlfriend even said things, happen for a reason. And some things are meant to be. And we'll see what that is going to be in the future for Dwight. But I'll get behind the lad. I even said a couple of videos ago, that's it now. I'm not gonna talk about Dwight's performance. I'm just gonna, how I feel about Dwight, how he's playing and stuff, how he's frustrating me. I can't believe he doesn't use his right foot, blah, blah, blah. He's not been tracking his men. He just looks unfit. I'm just seeing how I see it as a player. I want my team to go and win. I want to see my team compete. I've seen Azanu offer what he offered in the FA Cup game against Sunderland for that like cameo of 5, 10 minutes when he came on, and what he tried to offer in the extra time and the ball that he whipped in, won the penalty to take us to penalties. And he's not been, for me, I don't think he's been given the opportunity, but we see Dwight keep getting the opportunity instead of him. Tyler's come in and he seems to be struggling. They're all going to struggle as players at some period in the career, and they have to find a new avenue, a new club, a new direction, a new level to whatever they're playing at. So, boys, I'm going to leave this one there. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Click that bell to turn on post notifications. By no means were I being harsh or meaning to be harsh. It's pure banter. That's what football is. It's an outlet. You have banter between your mates. You know, I've got mates who are Liverpool fans, mates who are Blackburn fans, mates who are Newcastle fans, mates who are Arsenal fans, and it's the banter, and we slate players, and then we state how good certain players are, and then I've got mates who slate Jack Grealish. Yeah, I know how good he is. It is what it is. Up the toffees, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck, Dwight McNeil. Let's see how you perform in future games for Everton Football Club. See you in the next one.